to conferences all the time is the main driver for progress in your skill set and also your relationship, and basically any professional can become a better professional by attending conferences.
It's not the standard, okay? It's a movie theater, but the visual is great and the sound is great, and I've seen a lot of room and space, and I think it's organized well.
Seeing all the people here today and they're excited about stuff, and you can see the energy and the desire to learn and do new things.
And I was positively surprised about the depth, the technical depth of the sessions, and how that makes the tester part of the team.
I think developers do benefit from coming to QA conferences, just the same as testers can benefit from going to dev conferences. You've got to have a broad understanding of what's going on.
It's really inclusive. I would say it's super diverse. People are really open and friendly, and it's really organized.
Conferences are well worthwhile just for the ideas that they spark in people. When people come back to the office, they're full of ideas and they're all energized up.
Hello, my name's Phil Royston. I'm originally British, but I've spent exactly half my life in Prague in the Czech Republic. I'm the co-founder of a software testing company, and I want to talk to you today about what I've learned as a businessman about how to attract and engage the right sort of people in our work as software testers. Why is this relevant for you? Well, watch the presentation. Find out. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Phil Royston. My presentation is called Finding and Developing Good Software Testers, Lessons from a Testing Startup. You may notice this isn't a picture of me. This is Clara. She joined us 6 years ago, and she's definitely a good software tester. A little something about me. I left university a long time ago, bought a suit and started looking for a job. And I only had one aim, which was not to get a job in IT. 6 months later, I finally got my first job, which was obviously in IT, and it was okay. I was kind of good at it. I did various things within IT, but it really never fulfilled me, so to speak. But in 2001, I completely by accident, out of the blue, became a software test manager. And I really found my place. When I went into it, I had absolutely no idea what the job entailed, but I really found my place and I really enjoyed it and actually became quite good at it. But I was good at one type of test management, which was I would call firefighting test management. And there would be a big crazy project somewhere that may be running for a couple of years. Everyone had been saying, okay, testing is at the end, we'll think about that when we get there. And as they came close to the period in time where they need to start software testing, they realized they had nothing in place. They gave me a call. I arrived like Victor the cleaner, and I started saying, this is a testing strategy, this is a testing plan, I need some testers, I need a testing environment, and so on. And those big crazy projects were such an adrenaline rush because there was hundreds of people, huge delays, over budget, C-level managers screaming and shouting. And when you did finally manage to put the thing live, it was such a feeling of success. You'd really achieved quite an amazing thing. And I did this for a few years, and I sort of came tired, frustrated. It was always like the same. And then I actually became quite angry and annoyed because I did something called the ISTQB foundation level, because I wanted something to put on my CV. And even while doing the ISTQB foundation level, I realized that a lot of the things I'd invented in software testing, test plans, test strategies, decision tables, and so on, had actually already existed for a long time. and they'd been invented by people cleverer and better than me, and who'd invented them or defined them in a much better way than I had. So I thought, really, I thought I was quite good, but I'm only a competent amateur. And software testing, I realized, was a profession, and it was a profession that should be taken seriously. And this frustration led me to find a friend who was also frustrated, and we decided that we'd try and change the software testing world. We had no idea how to do it, but we thought the first step was to found a company, which we did 7 years ago, the company TestCon. And if I thought that being a software tester was an adrenaline rush, well, being an entrepreneur is definitely next level. Every day you can go from joy to misery to fear to frustration. How do I get through this endless cycle of emotion? Well, I also discovered motorbikes, and that's what makes me happy. My motto, if you're interested in what my motto is there's a lot of good ideas out there. All we need to do is start using them. So, some background for this presentation. Eurostar was coming to Prague, my hometown, and I thought, I need to get a ticket, preferably a free one. So I thought, okay, I'll get a free ticket if I make a presentation. But I sat there thinking, what can I make a presentation about? I'm not really hands-on testing anymore. What am I currently doing which could be relevant for software testers? And I looked at Isabella Evans, who's a program chair, her theme, which was working well. And she had 4 sentences. Our purpose is to deliver products and services that are working well. Our practices support us in working well. Our people are working well. Our challenges for working well now and the future. And I looked at these 4 sentences, and it was a little bit of a eureka moment. I thought, well, Isabel, this is the stuff I'm thinking about almost every day as the owner and now CEO of a software testing company. This is some of the stuff that keeps me awake at night. So I thought, well, I maybe do have something to share. And I don't want to talk today about products, services, or practices. There's plenty of good people on this conference talking about those things much better than I could. But one of the things I want to focus on in this presentation is the people. Because, and this may be a little bit shocking for you, when today it looks like that AI, machine learning, and tools do software testing, is that testing is still done by people and will be for the foreseeable future. So if software testing is done by people, then what you need is a people strategy. So I started looking around at people strategies, and I found on YouTube a very good TED Talk. It's by Rainer Strack, who's from the Boston Consultants Group, so top-tier consultant. And this was his summary or overview of a people strategy. So the first aspect of the people strategy is how to forecast supply and demand. The second aspect is how to attract great people. Then once you have the great people, how to educate and upskill them. And then, because you invested quite a lot of time and energy into this, the final aspect is how to retain great people. So let me go back to the title of my presentation, Finding and Developing Good Software Testers. And I want to summarize this in 3 questions. How to know what sort of people you need. How to attract and retain great people. And I put attract and retain in the same sentence on purpose, because any one of you listening who's in a long-term relationship knows that you have to put quite a bit of effort into attracting a partner, attracting a mate. And then to maintain a long-term relationship, you have to actually put quite a lot of effort in remaining attractive for your partner to retain them. And then finally, how to educate and upskill them. And if I take an abstract view of that as a businessman, how do I look at that? So a business is built on one thing. You have to find a client who has a problem or a need that you can solve. Once you understand the problem or the need, you create a product that solves that need or problem. Once you've identified what product product you need, then you need to look for the raw materials for that product, and then you need to look at define a manufacturing process that turns those raw materials into the product. So in this case, the raw materials are these great people you're looking for. The manufacturing process is educating, upskilling them to become the product, which is a good software tester. So, what is a good software tester? This is a product. So if we understand the product, then we can answer some of the other questions. So I thought I'd do some scientific research. I went to my browser and typed this question into Google. Google came up with 51.5 million results. So I decided to give up this scientific approach, and I thought I'd just express my opinions. So, my opinion, what is a good software tester? So, I'm going to take this from like a 360 view, but three points of view. The first point of view, I'm a businessman, so as a businessman, my point of view is a good software tester is someone who can do a job that fulfills a customer's needs or solves a problem, as I said. And if you can do that, then you get my appreciation and you get my respect. The second point of view is people go to work because of the people they work with. This is probably one of the primary reasons why people feel happy and engaged in work. So, from the point of view of your colleagues, what would make them think you're a good software tester? Well, perhaps it's because you get the job done effectively and efficiently. And the final point of view may be a little bit surprising. It's the point of view of your parents. Now, might be a little bit surprising, but actually, you are motivated day to day for all your life by trying to impress your parents. This is probably, it's not a theory, I think it's psychological fact. That this is one of the driving forces in your life. I found this out because a couple of years ago, I started using a professional coach. And he was really irritating. He kept asking me why I behaved like I did and asked me why I did the things I did. And I kept saying, oh, it's because of this and it's because of that. And he kept saying, no, but really, why? Why? And we kept drilling down through these very annoying and tiring sessions. And eventually, again, a eureka moment. I said, it's because I'm trying to impress my father. And he said, that's it. And I realized that everything I do and everything I try and achieve and the way I try and achieve it is basically because I'm still trying to impress my father. And my father, unfortunately, passed away a few years ago. So, what is a good software testing in the eyes of your parents? It's because you're successful at your job. You have a good job. You have a career, as they used to say. Which means, from their point of view, is that you're going to settle down. You're maybe going to have children, and then they can come at the weekend and spoil your children and really, really irritate you. So that's what is a good software tester. Now, we've mentioned their job several times. So what's this job? What's this job of software testing? And again, purely my opinion. What is testing? Testing is technical work. It always was. You always needed to understand something about IT to be a good software tester. And these days, it's becoming more and more technical, and really it is becoming primarily focused on technical aspects. And I'm worried that we are going to forget that testing is actually also people work. And the reason why it's people work is, yes, you do deal with a lot of people. And most importantly, you deal with people's mistakes. We find people's mistakes. And you need to tell them about their mistakes. And you need to tell them in a way that doesn't make them feel like a failure. And the final aspect of testing is teamwork. Now, testers are teamy people. When I was a test manager, I was nothing without a testing team. When you have a testing team, the colleagues of the team are very, very important. The collective of the team is very, very important. And this is not an accident, because we as human beings actually are much more productive and effective when we work as teams. And these days, because testing is becoming much more complicated, much more technical, actually that team teaminess is actually getting much more important. So there are three aspects of what is testing. That's all very nice, and maybe we now have a nice warm feeling about being software testers, but I still really haven't answered the question, what is a good software tester? So let's go back to Rainer's presentation. He talked about demand and supply. So if we understand the demand, what we need from a software tester, then we can understand what is a good software tester. So what is a demand? So let's take this simple picture. This lady has a need or a problem. She's obviously hungry, and hungry now. So let's go and look at the supply. So let's go and look in the cupboards in the kitchen and see what we have to eat. And this, funnily enough, looks exactly like the cupboard in the kitchen where I lived as a student. I shared a house with three other students, rather, there's four of us. And this is what our cupboard looked like. My shelf was the top right-hand one. So we can look at the current supply. And if there's something I'd really, really like you to take away from this presentation is one thing. You can't just look at current supply. Testing is going through a period of disruption. IT is going through a period of disruption. I have been working in IT maybe 30 years or something like that. I have never, ever seen IT moving so fast. It is really hard to keep up. And what's interesting is it's moving, and it keeps moving in the same direction. In the past, we used to start something and then go back and rethink it and reinvent it several times, and now we just keep going. So if you just look at current supply and demand, then that's not going to help you, because if a new type of demand comes up, you can't just transform like that. You actually have to evolve. You need to spend time on finding people, developing their skills and knowledge in order to meet that demand. It's not something you can do overnight. So you need to look far enough in advance to be able to develop those skills. So look as far into the future as possible. And I don't mean just look at the current demand sheet you have or the current requirements, IT requirements you're getting from business, but maybe look at what's happening on the markets, because there's a lot of things in IT which are happening. We've got cloud, we've got IA, artificial intelligence, we've got machine learning, we've got GraphQL coming along. There's lots of stuff happening, and generally IT follows those trends. So maybe that's stuff you'll be using. If you're not using it now, sometime soon you'll be using. But also look at business, because business is driving the IT. So if you understand some of the problems they have at the moment, those problems will eventually filter down as an IT demand. So go and talk to them, ask them, are you thinking about having a chatbot? What are you thinking about in your digitalization? How are you going to get closer to your customer through a digital channel? And if you understand some of that stuff, then you'll maybe see what's coming down the line. And when you've collected all that data, then you need to somehow process it. And a simple, stupid way of doing it is something called a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's simple, stupid, but it's effective, probably because it's simple, stupid. It's quite easy to do. It takes you 4 pieces of flip chart paper and just get people going around the room writing down strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I always describe it as the strengths and weaknesses are your internal view. What are you good at? What are you not so good at? And opportunities and threats are your external view. So what's outside your team or your company? What are those opportunities and threats? And you need to look at those in context of each other. So if you've got a strength and there's an opportunity, then you're ahead of the game. If you're weak and there's a demand coming along, then that's a threat. That's something you may not be able to fulfill that demand. And maybe if even worse, you ignore the thing that's coming, then you could become irrelevant, because we've seen it from companies like Blockbuster Video or Kodak. We've all heard these stories. They basically disappeared because they refused to acknowledge that change was coming. So you've gone through that process and you defined the demand, you've understood the supply, you've understood what this good software tester is. So what do you need to be this good software tester? Well, again, completely my opinion. Testing has always been a demanding job. It's been a multifaceted job from the beginning. You needed analytical skills, you needed IT skills, you needed people skills. There was always multiple skills required in the job. But these days, if you start looking at job servers and look at some of the job adverts, the requirements look a little bit like this. Really, it's like they're looking for some sort of testing Superman. And this is maybe trying to answer the disruptions I've said, that people are expecting you to know, not just know, but have experience, and not just some experience, a lot of experience in a lot of different tools and techniques. As I say, it's a testing Superman. And if you were to go out and look for this guy, this testing Superman, well, maybe you can find him and maybe you can hire him, good luck. But you actually might find that his skills, which are great today, may actually be irrelevant in a short period of time. So actually you need somebody who can adjust, who can learn, who can get new knowledge and new skills constantly almost. And how do you achieve that? Well, the answer to that is a growth mindset. So what is a growth mindset? So the theory behind the growth mindset is that the road to success is paved with failure. And if you go to Google again and type in there, give me some quotes about failure, you'll find some brilliant, lots of brilliant quotes. And when you look at those quotes, you'll see that many of the best ones are written by people, or said by people, who actually you would consider to be highly successful. This is strange. Successful people are familiar with failure. Why? And the final quote on that page is from Carol S. Dweck, and she did the empirical studies and eventually wrote the book about the open mindset. And her quote is, "What mistake did you make that taught you something?" So failure is part of learning. So if you want to know more, and I strongly recommend you try and find out some more, here are two books I would recommend. The first one is Carol's book, Mindset. It's very, very good. It's well worth reading. It's unfortunately written in the American style, which is one good idea, which we have to repeat for 12 chapters, but it's a good idea, so it's worth repeating. And the second one, I recommend because it's written by a guy called Ray Dalio. And if you don't know who Ray Dalio is, well, he's one of the richest men in the world, but he wasn't always, because he runs a fund management company. And he was, from an early point in time, interested in data and models. Yeah, so he collected a lot of data and created these very complicated models. And he thought he knew how to predict how the market was going to develop. And twice he bet against the market. He bet everything against the market, and twice he went completely bankrupt. And from these experiences, Ray learned that making mistakes is a very important part of his process, his process that made him very, very successful at the end. It's 600 pages, it's quite heavy, it's quite deep, so if you're in quarantine or in lockdown, maybe it's a good book to pass the time. So, how does it work? This is my summary. So, when we start to learn something, at the beginning we do a little bit usually of analysis and design. So, we might go on, search something on YouTube, we'll watch one video, maybe at 1.5 times speed because we don't have a lot of time, or we'll read the instructions of the thing we bought, and then we'll start doing it. And this is also a very important part of this learning process, because when you do something, you start to refine how you do it. And this is craftsmanship. This is the Deming cycle. It's Kaizen. It's these small incremental changes that make you get better and better as you go along, until you become the craftsman who can do things excellently without even thinking about it. So you can do those incremental changes, and from time to time comes a setback, a failure. And at this point, the person with a closed mindset generally walks away, because they can't accept failure, because failing is painful. And to look at that failure is actually something that hurts. Yeah? So they tend to walk away. And you'll hear things like, "Oh, I wasn't given the right tools, I wasn't given the right information, such and such a person didn't do what they should have done, I didn't have the right people," whatever. And they'll walk away from the problem. But the open mindset guy will actually turn around and accept the pain. He'll keep his mind open to this, and he'll actually reflect. And he won't ask the question maybe quite like this. He won't say, what did I do wrong? Or what went wrong? And what can I do next time to prevent it or to not make the mistake again? And then once he's done that reflection and dealt with the pain, he'll actually start going around the cycle again. He'll actually do another set of learning. And this time, because it's been a painful experience, he'll actually go and talk to colleagues who maybe have some relevant experience, or he'll read some books. He might go to some training, he might go to a conference. He might play the YouTube video at normal speed and watch it twice before he starts doing something next time, in my experience. And then he'll keep going around the circle. He'll start doing, refining, he'll hit another setback, he'll go through the pain reflection again, and he'll learn again. He'll keep going around this circle. So this is the open mindset guy. And what does it take to keep going around this circle? Well, first of all, it takes courage, and this is something I like to stress in software testing, because for me, a good software tester is somebody who's courageous. But it also takes a lot of motivation. So motivation is key. So going back to my presentation title, finding and developing good software testers. So I now know something about the product. I know something about the raw material. Now I need to know about how to attract and retain those great people and how to manufacture them into that great software tester, which is educate and upskill them. So how do we go about that? And again, I would say, let's work with their motivation. So motivation is clearly important. So there's 4 basic steps to understanding motivation. The first, understand motivation. The second, understand people. The third step is to understand how different people are motivated differently, because we're not all the same. And then fail, reflect, try again, because it's really hard to understand those 3 things. Let me give you some examples. We're systematic people. We like models because models help us understand and explain things. So here's a model about motivation. One you'll probably know. I hope you know it. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm not going to explain it. It's one model to explain motivation, and there's a lot of critics of this model. So if you went to Google browser again and said, give me some models or theories of motivation, you'll actually find there's quite a lot. And here's just some sample. There's a lot of different theories, and they're all quite different. So it really means that you don't feel embarrassed that you're struggling to understand motivation, because clearly the experts are also having trouble to understand motivation. So I recommend that you read something about it. Please be careful. Anything you see which says this one thing will help you understand motivation, ignore that sort of article completely. We are complex people, complex beings. There are no simple solution to complex problems. So try and read about it and understand it as best you can. And take from it something that resonates with you. And these are the things that resonate with me when I'm looking at motivation. This is my top 7. Maybe your top 7, I would fully expect that your top 7 would be different. First of all is psychological and safety needs. It's money, benefits, bonuses and things. And you will see on the internet plenty of articles which say that employees are not interested in money. It's not true. Maybe it's not the primary driver of their motivation, but if you took it away, then it would demotivate them. And that takes me maybe to the second thing, which is equity, it's fairness. Because with money, benefits and things, people expect to be paid fairly or be treated fairly. They do a certain amount of work, they provide a certain amount of contribution, and they expect a fair amount of return. So they expect a certain amount of fairness. Actually, in my experience, we've actually had people who left the company because they felt they weren't being treated fairly. And I'm not talking about money. It was just like, we're treating somebody like this and we're treating them somehow differently, which was their point of view, unfortunately. That's how they felt. Next is autonomy and self-will. I grew up watching Star Trek, the original Star Trek, and it was a 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds and blah, 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 but actually it was a 5-year mission to spread the message about autonomy and self-will. This was the goal. It's about freedom. We don't like repression. We rebel against repression. We want our autonomy. We want our ability to decide our future, our self-will. So this is very, very important for people. Next is relationships. I'm a pretty introverted person. I don't have many relationships, but the relationships I do have are very, very important for me. A good relationship is a motivating factor. If you have a good relationship with somebody, with a colleague or with your boss or whatever in work, it actually does help a lot with your motivation. Mastery. This is the desire to get better and better at something that matters to you. At the weekend, I managed to do some maintenance on my motorcycle. I did it for the second time because the first time I got it completely wrong. And the feeling afterwards when I did a good job, I went out and test ride on my motorbike and it was great. And the feeling was fantastic. And this leads me to the next point, recognition and appreciation. When you do a good job, there is nothing more satisfying than getting some recognition. Get somebody to pat you on the shoulder and say, good job, you did that well. Everybody needs recognition and appreciation. The reason why I'm presenting today is because I need recognition and appreciation. Hopefully you'll say at the end, that was a good presentation, and I'll feel much happier if I got that feedback. And finally, purpose. And purpose is a higher level. We'll come back to that in a minute. So we've got the motivation, somehow understand, and then we have to understand people. And again, models. People are very, very complicated. And all these models, a lot of these models, I won't say all of them because I'm not an expert in this, a lot of them are based around Jung's personality types. And Jung broke it down into two dimensions. You have feeling, thinking on one dimension, introvert, extrovert on the other dimension. And then he did this choleric and things like that, which is difficult to remember. But there are some commercial models. This is Insights Discovery. There's also Luminous Spark. They use colors to explain it. And I'll put up the colors. I'm not going to go into details, but even if you know, here are 4 basic personality types, and there's cool blue, fiery red, earth green, sunshine yellow. Even by the description of the colors, you start to understand, yes, that's that sort of guy, that's that sort of guy. And those different personality types have different motivations. For a cool blue guy, he's about facts, details, and analysis. So what gets him up in the morning, what motivates him the most is to give him the job of creating a horrible Excel spreadsheet that has a load of data and analyzing that data. He loves that sort of stuff. For the earth green, what motivates them is the people around them, the relationships they have with the people, with the team. Fiery red, I'm a fiery red guy, by the way. For me, it's challenge action. Call me and say, I've got a terrible project. I don't need to listen to the rest of the story. I'm already on board at that point. And the sunshine yellow guy, it's about excitement, it's about involvement, it's about the ideas. Obviously, these are the creative types, extrovert feeling. So, okay, lots of models. And in case you're thinking, oh, you can't break people down to 4 personality types, yes, they're not that stupid. This is my Luminous Spark report. It's 30 odd pages. It breaks it down into 24 whatevers, and then there's 3 whatever others, and it's pretty complicated at the end. So this again is not very simple, but again, it's a model that helps you explain, and even these 4 levels can help you. Let's go back to this purpose, this mystical thing called purpose. What is it? So, what do we do? Just software. How do we do it? Well, we have some test analysis and design tools, scripting, execution, control, reporting, blah, 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 blah. Is that inspiring? Will it get people, great people, into the job of software testing, and will it keep them there? Will it make them learn and contribute? Probably not. So I'm going to go to Simon Sinek now. You've definitely heard about this guy, and you've probably heard about his golden circle. And Simon Sinek says that the great, inspiring organizations always start with why. And their why is their purpose, it's their reason to exist, it's their mission, as the corporations call it, their mission statement. And they first deal with the why, then they deal with how, and then they deal with the what. And his example is Apple, and blah, 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 how, why, and then the what, the iPhone, pops out at the end. And his book starts with why. I haven't read it. There's a 20-minute YouTube video which summarizes it perfectly adequately. So, start with why, the mission. So, let's look at some mission statements. Okay, JFK. I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before the decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth. I would have loved to be on that project. I really would. If only I'd been born 20 years earlier, I could have been a test manager on the Apollo missions. It would have been fantastic. Another example, fruit-based IT company, yeah, to make a contribution to the world by making tools for the mind that advance humankind. If that was true, I'd be on board. I'd be applying for a job at Apple. 3M, I really love this, to solve unsolved problems innovatively. That inspired me at least to buy shares in 3M. By the way, 3M, stupid fact, 3M invented Agile, or made Agile possible, because, well, it's maybe urban legend, but 3M were trying to invent the strongest possible glue, and they failed. And what they did was invent the glue that allowed you to do this and stick your post-it note on the scrum board. Next one, Microsoft. Microsoft have a horrible reputation. But they're really standing behind this one. Our mission is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. If you look at what Microsoft are doing these days, I really think this is what they're actually trying to achieve. So, important here to understand that these things call to me. These are mission statements or purposes that resonate with me. They might not resonate with you, and that's very important to understand. So, I need a purpose, a mission. I need to motivate people to come and join my team. We're not sending the man to the moon. Now, companies' mission statement sucks. We've all seen what's written on the wall in some of the corporations, and it's not great sometimes. And what's the purpose of my job? But let's look at it from the point of view of the third one. What's software testing? So I found the definition, or our definition. It's the process of da 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 da. It's boring. This is not going to motivate anybody. How to do it? You need to distill and describe your mission and do it with your team. And I say distill and describe, not define, because you already have it. It's already in there. It's in your team somewhere. You just need to find it and then, most importantly, be able to describe it. And you could come up with something like, and I'll give you some examples, it's fairly simple and maybe stupid examples, to make sure our customers get a great product every time, to make sure our customer keeps loving what we do. They get the programs to start unit testing. This is kind of like the stuff they go, yeah. Because if we have a mission like that, then I'm motivated to come to work every day and to try and achieve that mission because it's something I believe in, it's something that resonates. And then we come to the how, back to Simon Sinek. The next circle is how. So how do we describe that? And again, I'm going to use this corporate speak, this values, and okay, values, corporations, yeah, but the values is something real. Our values also motivate us, and to give some fairly standard examples of values, we're professionals, we're partners with our clients, we're enthusiasts, we love what we do, and we're always trying to get better, and we like being a great team. And those values, yeah, we always behave like partners. We always try and be the professionals, whatever. This is motivating. This is what we want to be. This is what we're aspiring to. And why does all this stuff work? Well, it's not really a mystery, because we are a tribal species. It's not even cultural. It's actually in our DNA. Tribes are the social structures we evolved in. What made us the most successful species on this planet. It was the ability to create teams, to create tribes that makes us so successful. It's the teamwork that makes us successful. And in order to create this tribe, this teamwork, you actually need to have common purpose and values which bring the right people together to cooperate. And once you have that, you also create stories and rituals. The great civilizations have their stories and they have their rituals. And these stories and rituals bind us together and help the team overcome almost impossible challenges and problems. For example, building Stonehenge. They didn't do it. It wasn't a bunch of individuals. It was people working as a team, or maybe several teams working together. So this is very, very important. And okay, so tribes is very important, but these different types of tribes, not all of them successful. So there's a theory behind this as well. And these 5 tribe, according to the theory, these 5 tribe levels. Level 1 or level 0, I can't remember which now, is the lowest level of tribe. And these guys think life sucks. You know, these are criminal gangs, prisoners. Okay, occasionally they could be successful. They'll rob a bank. They'll work together effectively to rob the bank, but then they'll fall out and shoot each other. So they don't work very well together as a team. They don't achieve much, kind of little peaks, but no long-term success. The second level of tribe is people who think my life sucks. Life's great, I can see that, but my life sucks. And these guys feel like victims. They can see other people being successful, but then they go, well, I'm not successful, but if I only had a car, if I only had a university degree, they're always, things happen to them. It's either a curse or a blessing. They don't engineer anything from themselves. They're not good with working with other people. They don't want to help successful people be more successful because they won't be successful. The third level, these are the guys I grew up with in the 80s and 90s. These guys achieve more, but they think they're great because they're driven, they're competitive, they're looking to succeed, but they don't think anyone else is great. I'm great, but you're not. So they don't work very well together in teams. They can work together one-to-one, but through a third person in there, it just completely breaks down. There's a lack of trust. The fourth level is where the magic happens. This is level 4 tribe. And here, teamwork starts to work. The people stop competing with each other and start to work together. There's cooperation in the team. And empirical studies show that these people, these teams, are 3 to 10 times more productive than other organizations. But also these people are happier. They've got higher engagement. They've got a better work-life balance. So this is the holy grail. This is what we want to achieve. And the final level, in case you're curious, is level 5. This is life's great. So this is something we probably won't encounter in our lives. If you do, then I'm really happy for you. But these are people which are fulfilling a higher purpose. They're making a change to humanity, to the planet, whatever. They don't even consider competition because they're working for this higher purpose. So level 4 tribes. This is what we really like to have. It's good for our employees. It's good for you. How do you get there? How do you stay there? It's very important. So first of all, you could read the book. There's a book called Tribal Leadership. I haven't read it, but I did go to a lecture which explained it. So there's probably various techniques to do, but one thing I really want to point out is if you've got this, then do whatever you can to keep it. And that means, again, sit with your team, discuss how you work, what makes you tick, why you do what you do. Write it down. These are your mission and values. Draw some pictures to explain them, and then don't put them in the drawer. Talk openly about them. Teach them to newcomers. Use them. Demonstrate them. And you'll keep that mission and those values alive, and you'll stay at that level 4. One other thing which is very, very important in this is leadership. And I don't mean Steve Jobs, coffee and hand leadership. I mean everyday good leadership, something we can all achieve. It sounds easy on paper, but it's actually pretty hard. Anyone that's ever led a team will explain to you that leadership is very, very hard to do well. And the first most important thing is to give recognition, to give appreciation. The second thing is to don't talk. You don't have to be the cleverest person in the room. Listen. Build trusts and relationships. You have to have good relationships requires trust, and to get trust means you have to be open. You have to be transparent. You have to tell people what you really think and what you really believe and what you really want. Give feedback and give it well. And here I mean positive feedback, sure, that's recognition and appreciation as well, but negative feedback, but maybe not negative feedback, maybe call it corrective feedback. Yeah, you're helping somebody by pointing out that something could be done better or in a different way. So you're really helping people. And that feedback, we all need feedback because we don't see the mistakes we're making ourselves. This is why we're software testers. This is why we exist. And then finally, delegate and elevate. Your job as a leader is to make yourself irrelevant, to make yourself redundant. Basically, you should delegate as many things to your team as possible to get them, to enable them to improve, to get better, and to achieve this autonomy. If you need any sort of guidance about this, obviously read a leadership book. There are thousands of them. I've read a few. I'm sure I can learn even more by reading more. It's a complicated, difficult subject, but definitely worthwhile investing your time into. So finally, these are things that we in our company focus on. We've got the technical work, training, coaching, mentorship, boot camps, and whatever, practical skills learning. Then we've got the people work where we go to the personality types. We've got communication, presentation, negotiation, leadership, agile, and DevOps. And then the tribal aspects. We have our origin story, our stories, the tribal life, our rituals, focus groups, team buildings, all tribe gatherings, and 7 times communication. And to try and combine all those things together to attract and retain great people and develop them into great software testers. Thank you.
Hi there. So I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I have one question, a very good one. Do you think that to remain in the market, testers need to learn every day? There are so much to learn for a tester. Sometimes it's hard to set priorities. So it's 2 questions into one, but the answer to the first question, does a tester need to learn every day? Definitely. I think learning is a constant process. As I said, you have big jumps and then those little jumps where you're doing every day some sort of small refinement or adjustment. And then there's so much to learn. Yes, that's the problem, because it's really hard to know what to focus on these days. There's still lots to learn about how to set up a testing strategy, do a test plan, and then there's all the technical stuff you have to deal with. Again, come back to that good software tester. What specifically are you trying to achieve in your domain, for your client, for your team, for your company? And really do that SWOT analysis. Define exactly what you're trying to achieve, and then that'll cut things down into a smaller scope, and it'll help you focus on what's going to be most relevant and most valuable. And if you feel you're providing value, then you're more satisfactory. I'm going to be in the Ask Me Anything, and I really want you to ask me anything, because I think some of the things I talk about are quite controversial. Usually starts a nice discussion. I'd be really, really interested in hearing your opinion. So see you over there. Thank you very much.